leads to two questions for me. One in terms of, what are some of these initiatives that are out there, and then the other is, avoiding, some of the scams and schemes, and what are those scams and schemes that people should avoid, when looking and to buy a hotel, that type of thing. But let's get to the first question though. In
Mhm.
regards to a lot of these companies, Lester was talking with Choice Hotels with, about some of the initiatives that they have to get more Black hotel ownership. There are other companies, other brands that are out there that are looking to do the same thing. Can
Yeah.
you talk, to what you're seeing in the industry right now, like initiatives in terms of like things that our community can take advantage of, to give them like, an advantage, not even an advantage, but to get them up to speed in regards to, owning some of these hotels that are out here.
Yeah, so I'll lead by saying that without sounding like a commercial for Choice Hotels, but they are the only franchise brand that I've seen that has really the intention that with actually designing a team around that of attracting Black and Latinx first time owners. I'm not seeing that. A lot of people say that they have initiatives, but if you ask them what it is, the immediate follow up is, oh, well, it's not really cookie cutter, it's tailored. And it's like, well, what does that mean? Well, if that's the case, then tailor $20 million to me right now. Like, tell me exactly what this means. Choice has unveiled that, and they have, if you're looking at bringing in a new and again, I'm a real estate professional. I don't work for Choice, so I may misstate some things. So please fact check this. But they say, hey, here's some incentives, whether it be a certain dollar amount, and you might be able to spend that a certain way. Maybe there's a reduction in franchise fees. Maybe it's a reduction in application fee, because these application fees just to apply to the brand can be upwards of 75,000, right? Just to get the qualification process started. So there may be a reduction there. There may be something called key money, which is an incentive that they say, well, and I'm just going to use a number, for example, of $500, or even $1,000 per room, and you have a 55 room hotel, and they'll give you $55,000 to do the renovation, and convert it to whatever new brand within the Choice family, or within that certain franchise family. Those are some of the initiatives that they have. If you look at where they're at with somebody like Lester and some of the other folks on his team, where they're in the spaces, and you don't see the other hotel franchise companies there. That says a lot, right? That says a lot, and they scoop up a lot of people that have the equity that could build, with some of the other brands, but they choose to go with Choice because of that relationship, and they get out there and really engage folks. Some of the other brands, again, their response is that it's tailored. So they may, I'm just going to rattle off some of the things that I've heard for certain deals. There may be application fee waiver. There may be a waiver for there. They may help you out with like a balance sheet loan, right? If you have a really solid project, they may invest in the project with you. There may be a ramp up in franchise fees. Like I said, collectively, like I said, the article said about 11.5%. If you look at it on how it's usually broken out into franchise fees and royalty fees. And they'll usually say like 8 to 9.5, but there's always other stuff on top of that. And that's why people say it adds up to about 11.5. But so let's just use the number of like, let's say 9%, where they say, hey, you know what, year one, and it's more so on new construction, right? Or if you're bringing a new hotel into the system. So if you bought a Holiday Inn and you convert it to a DoubleTree by Hilton, you say, hey, Hilton, what are you offering, right? And then you would also, be smart to talk to Marriott. Hey, Marriott, I got this Holiday Inn and I want to make it a Delta, right? What does that look like? Are you offering any type of incentives? Hey, you want to put it next to each other. And then there's other conversations in terms of what's already in the market. But if you're talking about specifically in incentives, it just varies. And it ultimately comes down to, you have to ask the question of, what is it that I truly want, right? And if you want the highest quality relationship with your franchisor, you definitely want to think about that. If you just want to look at who has the biggest name and the most keys in the system, and by keys I mean rooms, You know, that may be a different conversation. It may be the same. It may be the same brand, but a lot of it is you have to do your research. But unfortunately, there's not really a direct answer into what they offer in terms of incentives. But I will say this: it's worth the conversation. You should always have the conversation with the franchise sales folks, and don't be scared to, conversation one. What are the incentives? And I would even say be as direct as to say for African Americans or for Blacks, right? Because if you say minority, that could be that could mean a whole lot of different things. Like, just go into it and just ask. All that they can tell you is no, right? Just like my mama told me, where all they can tell you is no.
Right. Love it. And thanks for the thorough explanation on that too, in terms of just, what the landscape actually looks like in terms of incentives. And moving from incentives though, I just want to briefly touch on, like, hotel scams, right? Now, you know, like in the hotel industry, like the guy you met who says this is a timeshare, this is a timeshare seminar, right? And that's something you never thought about. Have you known like the hotel industry to have like a lot of scams or things that people need to watch out for that could significantly reduce the wealth of our community and the wealth of individuals?
So scams in terms of, I haven't seen, this is going to sound crazy, I haven't seen scams in terms of on the investment side, right? It's an operating business that serves the public, so they're susceptible to scams, right? And that's a whole different thing. And the management companies are fully aware of those scams and how elaborate they get, and it really amazes you at how creative people are. I'm always impressed at the scams that people come up with. But in terms of an investor, that's the other great thing too, right? There's so much data. Lodging is such a data rich industry, and that's why I love about it. It's difficult for people to and that's the other thing that goes into the education, know how to analyze the data, right? So if somebody tells you that they have something under contract, is, well, let me see the purchase sale agreement. Is there a purchase sale agreement? Is there who is the seller? Why are they selling? But the biggest thing, I mean, just to vet whatever deal you're looking at, if somebody is bringing the deal to you, is just, hey, well, if you're under contract, then you have a purchase sale agreement in place, and let's take a look at that. But I haven't seen that on the investment side. That gets difficult. There may be people who pose themselves to be more than what they are at times. So it is always fair if somebody that's not the broker that's bringing you a deal. So like if I'm selling a deal, I'm representing the seller. And that's different than if, I sold the deal or I put it under contract with you, and then you were going round up, like we said, cooperative economics. If you're going to round up 20 people, and then one of those 20 might say, I don't really know Lawrence, who is this cat you're introducing me to? And that's that. So that's a little bit different, but the scams are very rare. And that's why it's always fair to even ask whoever brings you the deal. So if you would become the lead sponsor, as we would call it, of the deal, it was just say, hey, well, how much equity do you have in it? That's a fair question. If you want me to invest with you, how much money do you have with it?